Hello, welcome to another Punch with me, a man with a migraine and a bad head, and another man who always acts like he has.
I actually feel pretty good today. There's no. I mean, I'm over the Brown season. It's fine, and now I just look forward to the Caleb bashing every week. To be honest with
What
you,
did
so
Caleb get up to in the first half this week? Because I'm really enjoying his first halves in particular at the moment. I think.
it was another abysmal showing. From what I understand, it was blowout central at the 49ers. I think they were up 28-3 at the half or something like that.
I mean, but I understand that they came back a little bit in the second half, and based on the fact that everyone keeps telling us it was definitely all the coach's fault and definitely not Caleb's fault that they've been bad, doesn't that mean that at some point in the very near future they're going to get a win? No.
Uh, Not when you look at their schedule. I don't think it means that.
To be fair, they've got a nice easy game coming up, haven't they? Against us and Monday night. So the Minnesota Vikings are playing against the Bears on Monday. I've got a feeling that Caleb might well put in his best possible performance against us, but it's,
I just checked. It was 24-0 at halftime. To the 49ers. They scored 6 points in the third quarter, unanswered. So incredible. And then in the fourth quarter, they got outscored 14-7. So just a casual 38-13 loss this week for
I mean,
the
I can't.
the best quarterback in the NFL
Well,
apparently.
I can't help but notice he did go 17 of 23 for a grand total of 134 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So he's done rather well there. But then he did allow quite a few sacks. Look, I mean, like I can crack on talking about how bad Chicago are going to be this year for a while, but the truth of the matter is, I feel bad for the coaches that are there. So we spoke about Thomas Brown last week. I don't think they've got enough staff to actually fulfil the duties that a staff is meant to do in terms of the levels of detail, quality control, that kind of thing. And I can't help but feel that that might well be impacting what we saw on the field because there was a play action play in that game where Caleb did a pretty bad job of faking the run, if I'm honest, because like it was obviously play action. But then when he turned to face the field, all four of his receivers were in probably 10 square yards of each other and all covered.
Doesn't surprise me, to be honest. It's the story of the Bears season so far. Realistically, I mean, you can fire the head coach, and that happens. And he was a defensive head coach, but so you're not really gonna see a positive impact on the offense if your offensive coordinator, who was there for the head coach and had complete control of the offense, while while the head coach naturally gravitated towards the defense. Um,
Yeah.
we can't expect any exponential improvement. This is the last season for the Bears. It's done. Um, they need to start considering how they're going to be better next year with a complete. I'd probably suggest not far off a completely new regime. I expect a new GM
Apparently
to a
not.
point. No, I saw the owner said no, but if they finish the season with consecutive losses or without winning another game, I don't think it gives you much choice, to be
So
honest.
there might be a
Um,
reason why the owner does not want to fire the GM.
no one
He
wants
gave
it.
him a pretty good contract. I'm pretty sure he gave him 5 years off the bat. I'd like to check that.
Yeah, but these are billionaires, mate. So even if he's got to pay out 25 million, that's just about a couple of months' interest on it, to be fair. So it's not really. I don't think that'll be a deciding factor. But I think we've spent enough time crapping on the Bears over the last. Well, how many weeks has it been now? 11, 12. And I genuinely enjoy it. I look forward to what terrible first half offensive performance we're going to see next from Caleb. And obviously they've got the Vikings this weekend, and that has the potential to be a bloodbath again with the way that the Vikings have been playing on defense and that pass rush, like we mentioned last week about Grenard and how well that's going, and
Yeah.
then obviously you've got Van Ginkel on the other side, and Dallas Turner stepped up this week when he played. He looked good.
Do you know who
So,
else popped
yeah,
up?
I think
Did you happen to see Gabriel Murphy in there? Another one of the free agents I was heralding before the season.
I have no idea who that is. I'm not going to lie.
He was so at the end of every draft class. Just for context for those who don't know, this is a little bit of an area that Jim and I love. But with the NFL draft, it is not just for players who are drafted who can potentially provide value to the team. It's the players who are what's known as undrafted free agents. Now these guys get picked up at a very cheap rate, but every now and again there is a player or a couple of players who the entire league recognises is a good value free agent, i.e. we'd like them. And that leads to certain players being given a higher than usual sort of salary as a free agent off the bat. So Ivan Pace Jr. is a good example of one of those for the Vikings in recent years. This year as well, we've got the defensive lineman Tulane, I think his name is, who's actually been injured, and an AFL defensive tackle, so used to play in the AFL last year, Redmond. He got the game ball against the Cardinals and then started the last game and has now taken over from Jerry Tillery in the middle of the defence. But Gabriel Murphy, he'd been on injured reserve the entire season, finally made a start again at the weekend and actually got a couple of quarterback hurries, couple of quarterback pressures, and stopped the run rather well when I didn't think we had an answer to how the Bears, to how the Falcons were starting to run the ball on us. So, yeah, it's we've got options at edge rusher, but I mean Sam Darnold, mate. Like that's
well, yeah,
isn't it really at the moment? That's the story. So.
Well, I was reading yesterday that Darnold, the floor for his contract is expected to be about 33 million, which is the same as Baker Mayfield, which I think we spoke about last week as well, to be honest. And they're saying that the favourites for Sam Darnold in the off-season are the Vikings. Yeah. You can't... I mean, it's one of those, yes, you've drafted J.J. McCarthy, who is intended to be...
Do you want my prediction as someone who's paid attention to the team and what the back office have been doing rather than the national media who have jumped in on this and decided that we need to re-sign Sam Darnold? Because just because a plan goes well doesn't mean you should deviate from the plan, right? And Sam Darnold has done well with our coaching staff, with our wide receivers, but also with J.J. McCarthy sitting in the quarterback room with him, massively helping him out. It's probably not a well-known fact, that, but J.J. McCarthy is the... Sam does well, but everybody in that team knows that the leader of the team is J.J. McCarthy. We'll be letting Darnold go at the end of the season because we're not going to franchise tag him. That would be 41 million. We might, but if we do, it'll be to trade him, and hopefully it'll be with his best wishes as well. There's an understanding with the Vikings about what was going to go on this season. Sam was going to get his opportunity, and he actually got beaten in camp by J.J. McCarthy. Right, so anyone who's sort of worried that we might be doing worse with J.J. McCarthy rather than Sam Darnold, I don't think watched him in college. There were certain issues with his game which we needed to see more of around the arm strength, the ability. He answered all of those questions in camp for me. He adjusted his footwork. The Minnesota Vikings do have a top 3 in the NFL quarterback on their books, but it's not Sam Darnold. Like Sam Darnold is a top 10 QB ceiling, and I hope he gets paid a monstrous contract next year. But any deviation from the original plan would be stupid and a disaster. So
I completely disagree with you on this one.
You're a Browns fan, mate. You never get quarterbacks right.
But that's the point, right? So when you've got I understand what you're saying about J.J. McCarthy. He's never played an NFL game. So
Sam Darnold had played bad NFL games.
But that doesn't matter.
Not now. It's revisionist history. Everybody knows what Sam Darnold is.
He's won 11 games with this quarterback. You go into the player. Possibly,
we've done it because we're not paying him a lot of money. We've done it because we've been able to invest money that needed to be spent this year on the defence. We've been able to pay for it next year because we haven't got a big quarterback salary rate waiting for us. Like with 28 million dead cap to Kirk this year, plus the 10 million to him, right? We're still paying about 50 million for quarterbacks this year, same as the rest of the league.
Look, I'm not saying that Sam Darnold is the second coming of Jesus Christ. Please don't take this the wrong way. But at the same time, when you've won 11 games in the NFL this year, which is his best
Doesn't
season,
matter. He's
he
not going
can.
to win a Super
But
Bowl.
it doesn't
It
matter.
does.
But JJ McCarthy's
Yeah,
not going to win a
he
Super
is,
Bowl
mate.
in
He's
his
going to be
first
one of the
year.
best two
No, he's not.
quarterbacks in the league.
No,
Yeah,
he's
he
not.
will.
No, he's
Yeah,
not.
he will.
He's got one leg. He's already had a setback from his surgery in November, so he had to have a
No, he
second one.
hasn't. This is all
Yeah, he
nonsense,
did.
mate. No,
No, it's
He
not.
had an anti-inflammatory injection to his
No.
knee after he stepped up his
I hope
comeback.
you go to JJ McCarthy, and you know what? If he does well, he's not going to win 11. You know, you're not going to win 11 out of 13 games with a rookie quarterback, which is
No,
effectively what he
we'd have
is.
won 13 games this year.
No
Yeah,
shot.
we would.
You no
Yeah, we
shot.
would. But
But you would
for
have
two games
won.
we lost
No,
involved red screen of
no,
death for Sam. JJ wouldn't
no.
have done that. I mean, I'm happy to die on this hill because I've been on this hill from the very beginning. So, like,
When you've got a quarterback, you don't go and look for another one. So if this was
we've,
the year,
we've got
if
a quarterback.
JJ McCarthy came out this year, you'd be re-signing Sam Darnold to a 5-year, $200 million contract. Just if you didn't have JJ
Agreed,
McCarthy.
but we do, and we've had a year of seeing him.
But you've had 3 weeks of seeing JJ McCarthy.
I think everybody is ignoring the fact that Kevin O'Connell is heavily invested in JJ McCarthy. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is heavily invested in the concept of a rookie QB to bring through a surplus of value within the main squad. They're not going to deviate from their plan. They got forced away from that plan for years. They're not going back to a Kirk Cousins situation, mate. Like, and say what you like about Sam Darnold. Like, until this right now, everybody still thought Kirk was better. Before we played the Falcons, most people would have said that you should swap them back if the money was equal, right? So I never thought that. So I'm going to carry on thinking what I think in the face of all of what I consider to be mainstream media nonsense, and we'll see whether or not I'm right. Like, God,
No,
I mean, to be
enough.
fair,
I
I've
think
got a
what we'll
pounding
do is
headache, so I'm probably not as open to the views of like, I don't know. I've seen Colin Cowherd chatting absolute nonsense. I've seen them all jumping on it. Oh,
Hey, look, Sam Darnold's is a product of a really good system
exactly.
from Kevin O'Connell. I will acknowledge that. And I'd also say Kirk Cousins was a product of several really good systems. So it's not a case of like Sam Darnold. Like I said, Sam Darnold's not all of a sudden, genuine top 3 quarterback in the league without Kevin O'Connell. If you take Kevin O'Connell away, like, let's be honest, if he doesn't start with the Vikings this season, or even if he gets tagged or whatever, the next most likely place for him is going to be either the Giants or the Raiders. And what you're going to see from those two sides of things, I mean, we'll come on to Antonio Pierce a little bit later on, but if he goes into that Raiders situation that they've got right now, Sam Darnold is going to be the New York Jets, Carolina Panthers, San Francisco 49ers third-string quarterback all over again, because there's a difference between having an offensive play caller like Kevin O'Connell and having whoever's calling the plays for the Raiders or at the Giants, and whether it's Dayball or whether it's someone else.
If you're Sam Darnold and you're in a situation where, like, okay, let's go down the route of playing devil's advocate with this. Sam Darnold turns around and says, I want to stay, right? And I'm happy to take $35 million a year for the next 2 years. I'd do that in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Gives me control, gives me a quick QB that I know I can believe in, gives me everything that I'd want. But he's not going to do that. He's going to be chasing 45. If we win a playoff game, just one, he's going to want $45 million a year, 4 years.
I think the most likely outcome for Darnold, if he's not tagged, will be to sign another 1-year contract somewhere in the 35. I mean, if I'm a GM, there's no way I'm betting 4 or 5 years worth on Sam Darnold at 35, 40 million.
Here's a team, and this is an outsider, but here's a team that I think will be in the frame for Sam Darnold, right? Because they haven't done the deal with their current QB yet, who's now injury prone and will cost them $60 million a year, or they can go and get Darnold for $45 million. San Francisco 49ers. They already had him. They know what he is. He's gone away. He's proved he can play in the league. Kyle Shanahan's not going to think he can't call as good a run game or as good a passing game as Kevin O'Connell. Or the 49ers are in a situation where they're going to be paying $62 million a year for Brock Purdy, a man who so far hasn't been able to get through an entire season without an injury to his throwing shoulder. He'll throw an arm, two, elbow, shoulder. Like, don't get me wrong, I think Purdy's a top 15 QB in the league, operating in one of the top offenses. But if you have a choice, which is to keep him at market value or get Sam Darnold at less of a market value, why wouldn't you do that?
Oh, it's a difficult one for me, especially as someone that's particularly precious about quarterbacks and having and not having had a good one.
You got Deshaun Watson. He was meant to be good.
Yeah.
You had Baker Mayfield. He was good when he wasn't injured.
Yeah, I know, but the point is, I'm trying with the Darnold piece at the Vikings, Purdy at the 49ers, and ultimately, if your coaching staff is likely to be intact for the next couple of years at least, and you've got a quarterback who operates in that system well, 99 times out of 100, they're going to get paid, and they're going to be kept on the roster. And I think this goes for Darnold, this goes for Purdy. There's the level of confidence from either the OC or the head coach around how much they're going to, why it's almost like why gamble when you know what you've got. And if what you've got is a 13. Yeah, but it is.
I don't think it is. And I think the best people to decide whether or not it's a gamble are Connell and Kwesi. Like,
I'm not talking about Darnold here. I'm talking about Purdy.
Right.
Okay, sorry. For me, Purdy's operating out of, he's operated within the Shanahan system. He started for 2.5 years now, or whatever it is. He hasn't got the arm strength for me, but you don't need it in the West Coast offense for Shanahan, to be honest. So it is what it is. And it's that age-old piece again about superstar quarterbacks or system quarterbacks. How do you win games? And ultimately, the teams that win games are system quarterbacks. Let's look at Aaron Rodgers as an example of a superstar quarterback in a hopeless system. Has Aaron Rodgers turned into an awful quarterback overnight? No. Is Aaron Rodgers as good as he was 5 years ago? No. But would he still be completely functional and as good, if not as good as Jordan Love, if not better, in the Green Bay system that he played in for the previous 15 years? Yes, because that's just the way that this goes. And ultimately, you've got to match your system to your quarterback. And without doing that, it doesn't matter who you've got at quarterback. It's not going to work for you. Lamar Jackson's a perfect example of how the Raiders do that. Mahomes at the Chiefs. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. They're superstar quarterbacks, but ultimately they've brought in an offensive coordinator to build that system around the quarterback and to put the talent around, like the Chiefs. They sign street free agents to play wide receiver on the regular because the system allows them to do that. So, the Ravens haven't got really a top tier wide receiver outside of Zay Flowers. Whereas then you've got the Vikings, you've got the complete opposite approach to this, where actually you'll take your system quarterback and you'll put superstar players around him in terms of Jefferson, Addison, Hockenson. The list goes on in that sense. So it's really weird. It's that trade-off between system and superstar, and some teams are lucky enough to have both. Other teams have neither, and that's where the Browns are. That's where the Giants are. That's where the Raiders are. There's plenty of teams in that piece at the moment. And then you go to the Jaguars. You've got Trevor Lawrence, a superstar quarterback, but he can't operate in the system that he doesn't operate well in the system that they put on the pitch from the offensive coordinator, and he's looked horrible this season.
About OC, the Jags.
That's a house cleaning for me. That is at the Jags this season, and yeah, it is what it is. Look, when you look at that system quarterback piece, I would take a game managing quarterback who knows how to play the system all day long over someone like Deshaun Watson.
My favourite quarterback, as in the quarterback that I've loved the most since I started watching the NFL, was solely a game manager. Like, didn't have an arm really, and turned out didn't have strong enough knees either. But my God, what a human! That was Teddy Bridgewater. Like, that's it for me. Now, when you look at Sam Darnold, if there's anything lacking, it's leadership.
I think
he's a guy he seems very, very introverted, and that can work. I'll tell you what though, he's fucking brilliant bloke compared to Kirk Cousins. My God.
But paranoid as well, right? You literally, if Darnold didn't work out for the Vikings this year, Darnold was third string quarterback for the rest, at best, for maybe the next couple of years until someone else came along. And then Sam Darnold's NFL career was over by the age of 30 if this didn't happen with the Vikings this year. So, to be honest with you, it's like, I think leadership comes from confidence. And I think when you're feeling like the weight of the world is on your shoulder, like the weight of your career.
The guy has got cojones, man. Like the way he searches for the balls downfield. Oh, well, I love him to bits. He's like Case Keenum with a long arm. Like some of his escapes that he's done, love it, great. But the plan's a plan. Like I simply would not deviate from a plan. But
no, the biggest thing I've seen from Darnold that's made me happy, because I wanted Darnold when we drafted Baker. Funnily enough, is the improvement on his depth perception. You're not seeing the overthrows that you saw for the first few years of his career and what he did at college. He's hitting, and I think it may be because you've got fast receivers. So he's hitting receivers in stride. You're scoring a lot of points. O'Connell's keyed in on what Darnold does well, and he's now accentuating that. I think when you've got
how long is that sustainable for?
That's a point, because eventually
that's my concern, right? Like we've got
with Justin Jefferson, though, they put 3 people on him and they still can't cover him. So to be perfectly honest, it's probably sustainable for longer than you'd think.
They can when we've got 3 on him. The problem is they leave Addison open, and now Hawkinson's back. That's leaving the options underneath. If they only leave 2 on him, they've got half a chance of controlling it. But what is interesting when you're watching the Vikings film on Sam is he's there to be taken advantage of in one way. And that is, if you're a safety who's smart enough to actually fade over to the wrong hash, knowing that's going to trigger Sam to go long to the receiver on the opposite side. Because what's been happening is the free safety in the middle, he should be standing between the hashes. The hashes are indicative of where the goalposts are for those who aren't too knowledgeable on this. So it's the dead centre of the pitch, and that way the safety has got the range to go left or right and cover both sides of the pitch equally. As soon as safeties are seeing Jefferson on one side of the pitch and they angle over and get onto the hash mark opposite to where Addison is, that's when he's firing at Addison. And he's firing at Jefferson when it's the other way around, when the safety's fading towards Addison. So we've got that option as to how he's doing it, but he's doing it on a consistent look and a consistent trigger. And as soon as, if I've identified what that trigger is, mate, other people are going to quite quickly, right? So
yeah, but identifying it and stopping it's different thing entirely. And ultimately, you stop the Addison, you eventually stop the Jefferson, then you've got Hawkinson running you 15 yards over the middle, and Darnold's got better at that. So look, I take it all on board what you're saying. We can agree to disagree on the re-signing piece.
No, I'm joking.
Well, okay, then. You're wrong. I'm wrong. And yeah, we'll just go from there. And I think that's probably a good time to. Yeah, exactly.
If you're anything like us at Utter Punts, we love the fantasy games surrounding the NFL, but sometimes they're a bit too focused on their American audiences. That's why we were blown away when the Fantasy Game Day app rolled into town, a weekly fantasy game with player values in pounds, totally dedicated to the NFL's UK audience. There's insights and analysis and plenty of opportunity to compete with your friends, but the best bit, weekly cash prizes. Use code PUNTS when you sign up for a free entry after you play your first week.
Right, we were mentioning Antonio Pierce previously. Let's have a chat about how the Raiders are doing, because we may as well. They look like the most likely candidate for the first round, for the first overall pick right now, I think. Although the Bears are giving me far more traction to my prediction than it might be then when we were on 4 wins, 4 weeks ago, than I expected to get out of it, because they haven't won since, have they? So we'll see, but most likely to be the Raiders. Who we're figuring is looking a good pick, a good fit for them in the draft this year, or maybe.
Oh, I think 100%. If the Raiders are picking number 1, they're picking Shedeur Sanders. And I also think, and this was what I was going to talk about, I think Antonio Pierce is getting fired.
He needs to be.
at the end of the
Yeah.
season. And look, when you're in the situation where you need a new quarterback, like the Raiders desperately do, you have to hire an offensively minded head coach to support
Because
that.
you need it for the partnership, right?
Having said that, if the Raiders do draft Shador Sanders, my money for their head coach would be on his dad.
Do you reckon?
Prime.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know. I mean, it's probably me buying too much into what Prime himself has said, but he said he's no interest in leaving Colorado this year. But also, both his sons are leaving. They both play safety for Colorado, I believe. I'm not sure how.
No, Shador's the quarterback, and then Shiloh's the safety. I think there's another son who's got another
safety
year
as well. I think, but apparently they're all three are leaving Colorado this year.
Okay.
I don't know how true that is. I heard that elsewhere, mate. But like, if that's the case, then there's obviously Hunter is also leaving. Going to be number one cornerback or number one wide receiver, depending on the flavour that people pick. Did he win the Heisman?
He's going 2 or 3, no later, is for Travis.
Did he win the Heisman?
Hasn't happened yet.
Is it this Sunday?
It's either, I'm not sure. It's either this Sunday or the following one.
Interesting. Cool. Because the nominations for the Heisman, which is the best college player the best player in college football, essentially. There's a little bit of controversy because my running back hasn't been picked. He's my running back, mate. Scappo.
It's not controversy when you only learnt his name on Saturday while you were watching the game.
It's great, wasn't it? No, it's controversial with his fans, with the Sun Devil fans, to be fair. But you've got Travis Hunt and you've got Ashton Janty, who's a running back, a very good running back as well.
He's the only one I could see pipping him to be honest.
It doesn't look like it. The odds here are, I mean, yeah. You need to bet $2,000 to win $100 at the moment on Travis Hunter. So it's unlikely. Interesting.
What I find interesting with Travis Hunter is there's plenty of highlights of him catching touchdowns from Shador Sanders as a wide receiver. Try and find some in-depth highlights of him playing corner. I'm not doubting his ability to play corner. I think he's going to be really good at playing corner.
Yeah.
But the most of the plaudits he's getting as a two-way player last year was more on the defensive side of the ball, and this year it's far more on the offensive side of the ball. So I think it's an interesting one. I think Shador Sanders will go. I mean, Travis Hunter said his ultimate goal is to go number one overall. I don't think that's going to happen, and that's just because of the premium that goes on quarterback picks, to be honest. I think Shador's going to go 1. If the Giants are picking at 2, they're probably going to... Well, again, this is going to depend on who their head coach is.
He's the one I like. There's only one QB in this draft. Well, I'm like, yeah, he's a good player. And that's Cam Ward, weirdly.
No, I've got 2 or 3 that I quite like. I like Shador's okay, but from a personality perspective, his dad would scare the crap out of me.
I thought that until I saw him talking, and he's a really articulate lad, man. Really articulate. So,
but as a head coach, do you want your quarterback's dad calling out your play calling, your team selection, your play selection? If let's say Shador Sanders goes to the Raiders and they win, and they're only winning 4 games next year or 5 games because it's rookie quarterback, could go however it goes.
It's not just that. They're a bad team. That's why they're drafting so low, right?
By the 5th or the 6th game of the season, Deion Sanders is going to be calling out the head coach for play calling and the offensive coordinator. And then there's going to be a video. No, I'm just looking at the Odell Beckham situation that we had at the Browns when his dad was posting videos of Odell being wide open and Baker not throwing him the ball. And we're seeing it this year. And I think the problem is with Prime being such a public figure in that sense, who's not afraid to speak his mind. I always go back to that way he introduced himself to the Colorado team. There's a video on YouTube about it if anyone wants to watch it. But he goes in there and goes, "You boys are trash. You won 1 game last year, so I'm bringing in some dogs, and most of you won't be here when the season starts. I suggest you go and put yourself in the transfer portal," or words to that effect. And while that's a great way, it's a great way to galvanise and lead a brand new team, and I think you could do that with the Raiders. ultimately it's probably got a shelf life because then they won 3 games last year, so it wasn't that much of an improvement. If they didn't win that as many games this year, Deion Sanders could well be in a little bit of trouble. But thankfully, they've won 8 games or whatever it is.
8-3 that went, I think, something like that.
Yeah, 8-3, and I think it was 3-8 last year. So yeah, look, I think if Shedeur goes 1 to the Raiders, I think Deion Sanders is a very good shout. Mark Davis is a bit crazy as the Raiders owner, so it wouldn't be out of his wheelhouse to do something like that. And yeah, but Antonio Pierce ultimately one and done as the Raiders head coach is more prediction.
Here's a crazy one for you. If you're Jerry Jones and you're sitting there seeing one of the best players in your franchise's history, who's got a son who's a QB, everything's going crazy. Are you not looking at that and going?
I would have if I hadn't paid Dak $60 million a season 2 months ago,
wasn't it? Because we all thought he had a contract year this year. He wasn't going to get paid. He was going to be on a prove it deal. That would have put Dallas in a far better position strategically.
Well, that's it. They gave him $60 million a year with 230 odd guaranteed. It's a Deshaun Watson quality level contract, to be honest. And then he played in 6 games, got injured, and that's it. And we'll see him next year. So it's all right for some, to be honest. But yeah, I think Jerry Jones pretty much punted. He punted on last year's off season. They didn't sign anyone in free agency. You know, there was plenty of memes about where are the Cowboys. Has anyone seen them? And then this year, with that $60 million contract, they're going to be in a similar situation again. So they're going to be punting on the off season. Are they going to keep the head coach? I can't remember what his name is.
McCarthy.
That's the one. They haven't said they're going to fire him. However, the way that they lost to the Bengals on Monday night was pure comedy value.
What was that, man? Like, what is going on with some of these strange end of game moments now?
You block a punt, and then it's bouncing. So your 7th string cornerback tries to catch it and take it on the run, and then just touches his arm, and Bengals fall.
Like, if the special teams coach is there shouting, leave it, don't touch it. You've done your job. Just get out of the way.
You had field position at the 50, and instead you gave up field position at the 50, and 3 plays later, Jamar Chase walks into the end zone.
You can't afford to be giving Joe Burrow it's not your hand on special teams.
Oh God, no! He's probably the best. He's probably the best quarterback in the league at the moment. To be honest,
there's no excuses because do you know who his special teams coach is? Fossil John Bones or whatever he's called, the guy who was the special teams coach for LA Rams under Jeff Turner when we were on Hard Knocks to have the whole sort of like special teams like dojo thing going on. An absolute class guy who's like got infectious leadership and an unbelievable amount of attention to detail. Like, he's, for me, one of the better special teams coaches in the entire league. I have no excuses.
But for everyone that's not a Cowboys fan, it was hilarious.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
And you get to watch that, and you get to watch the highlights, and you watch it 2, 3, 4 times because you just see the look of absolute horror on 90% of that stadium when it happened, and it was brilliant. So yeah, and obviously, yeah, and I watched Hard Knocks, the AFC North Hard Knocks that started on episode 2, and they covered this off in Hard Knocks. And Zach Taylor, who is one of the least inspiring men I have ever seen in my entire life, especially from a head coaching perspective, was giddy like a 6-year-old girl that they won the game off a blocked punt from them. So yeah, it is what it is. Very amusing to watch. A micronism of the Cowboys season so far. Some weeks they look good, some weeks they look really bad. Most weeks they look really bad. So it is what it is. But yeah, just another weird one in the NFL this year, and I think the new special teams rules are making special teams significantly more exciting. So I think it was a really positive. Yeah, I think the kickoff returns and things. I think that's made it.
It was meant to do, you know, man. I was
exactly. Yeah. It's made it more competitive. There's far more returns now. We've seen more returns touchdowns this season.
The standard scrimmage plays as well, which was what
Say that again.
the injury rates on kickoff returns are now down to the same rates as a standard scrimmage play, which is what it did in XFL or whatever, whoever it was who did it first. Like, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
We'd already seen it works. There's no doubt in my mind.
Let's be honest, kickoffs were the worst. If you've got a kicker that can kick the ball 65 yards, which most kickers that get paid $1 million plus a year can, just put it through the back of the end zone, everyone starts at the 25. But now with that differentiation between if it bounces and goes into the end zone, you start at the 30, whereas if it goes straight into the end zone, it's the 25 and whatever else it is. And it's been a really positive change, made special teams far more interesting. We're seeing people break plays for touchdowns that we didn't last year or haven't done for a few years. And overall, a very positive change. I think the next change that they should look to make is on some of these dodgy pass interference calls or the face masks.
I feel that face masks should be reviewable by New York. It shouldn't be a flag thing.
Well, did you see that Joe Burrow one on Monday night where they basically span his helmet around and it didn't get called?
It's every week. Every week I'm seeing players face masks. No flag throw. And then
was it Darnold against the Lions?
Darnold against the Rams, where it was a game ender.
The Rams.
Yeah. And that was ridiculous because the guy who did it ran away from having done it with his hands on his head, knowing that he'd just messed up and given away the foul, and then turned around to realise the foul hadn't been given. Like, I've never seen such a quick turnaround in mood and vibe.
I can't tell if it's the added complexity that's going into these rule changes that seems to be making the overall official quality, like referee quality, worse.
Man, they just need to keep. I mean, this is the thing. Sometimes you'll see them call something, and you're like, "How on earth did you even see that?" And like, that's for my team. Like, sometimes there's a holding call on the opposite side of a play that has no impact on the game whatsoever. Why are you bothering to call those? Like, it should be stuff where there's a material impact on the play. Like, it's a little bit. Yeah, I mean, Tom Grossi's got it right. Have you seen his whole flag thing with his ref? Like, flag. Yeah. Yeah, he's a very funny chap.
Ultimately, I think the officiating needs to get a bit better. We dissected the favouritism to the Chiefs. But ultimately now, I feel like every game that we watch, there's even with the naked eye, if you know what you're looking for.
People lining up offside and not getting flagged for it.
Every game, and it's not getting flagged. People,
the Vikings
tackles,
have one,
holding,
just to show how neutral I am. The Vikings have one. We had an edge rusher line up a foot offside, and I was just waiting for the flag to get thrown.
You know what? When it's the Browns, if Myles Garrett lines up offside or goes too quick, he gets called every time. But they completely ignore that he gets held on probably 65% of his players when he's rushing the passer.
Nick Bosa's been arguing the same. So I was telling you what, the truly elite pass rushers, they just get held. They get hugged. As soon as someone gets a hand on them, they're grabbing it. Like, there's multiple players at once with a paw on them, so it makes it less obvious that they are being held. And yeah, it's I agree with you, mate. They need to. We just want an even playing field, and I think that you can get that if you basically you're only sort of owners rather than trying to keep a game tight late, which based on the stats, it's not right that so many games are only decided by one score. It's getting to the point now where it's moved to 79% of NFL games getting decided by one score.
But that's what they want,
that's
though. That's what it keeps the TV audience.
They think that it's keeping the TV audience longer, but in reality, people are getting sick of the feeling that it's a little bit like you're watching wrestling. But my team's 3 scores down. It's okay. The rest will get us back in it in a minute. What? Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, this is their turn to score. We'll get ours when the refs are helping out and calling off a full start on every play or whatever. So it's I'd rather it was competition, and the refs but barely noticed. But in order to get there, at least they are getting criticised for some of the decisions. It's not like our football where we're not allowed. So yeah, it's.
I think we should. I think we should I think as well, when we look at this, I think this leads us nicely into looking at the Bills against the Rams
Let's
game.
do it after we hear
from
from these guys.
Here at Utter Punts, we love watching the NFL with friends, and in our opinion, there's no better place to grab a bite to eat and watch the NFL than Beer Keller in Manchester. The burgers are massive, there's loads of HD screens, the wings are great, and there's a superb choice of drinks behind the bar too. Most importantly for us though, the people are brilliant, like-minded NFL fans who want to enjoy the game and have a laugh. It's definitely one of the best venues to watch your favourite team in.
Right, we're back. What do you want to talk about, mate?
Bills and the Rams.
Yeah.
86 points.
Yeah, great.
In the
great
game.
Great game.
Unbelievable.
So I actually won a little bit of money on it because I fancied the Rams. The reason why I fancied the Rams was what they did against the Vikings. Because the defenses are similar in a way. But whilst the Vikings don't nickel and dime it, they do have like smaller players out there a lot of the time. And with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp back, they're so physical, man. Like, they're so strong. Like, it's like having tight ends who can run unbelievable routes. And like when you know full well that the Bills are going to be nickel and diming it against that kind of stuff. And I just assumed that with Kieran Williams, the run game there, the ability, that they'd have good opportunities to score on offense. What I didn't expect was Josh Allen to play like God and not quite pull off something that would have been amazing.
And this is what I'm talking about. I think when you're watching that game, you're probably seeing two of the top three ascending talents this year. Look, and Josh Allen's been on an upswing since after the first year of his career. His first year of his career was decent, but not
Mate, I said to you at
electric.
the start of the year, I thought he was going to struggle because I had no wide receivers, none.
And he hasn't.
Amari
And he's
Cooper,
absolutely. And I think yeah, but even like, he's not the Amari Cooper of last year on the Browns with the Bills this year. He's just not. He missed the whole of preseason, and he still hasn't recovered from that. But Josh Allen is probably, Josh Allen and Puka Nacua are probably two of the top three most biggest ascenders this season. I think people are now looking at Josh Allen as a comparable talent to Patrick Mahomes, which I think says it all. And Puka Nacua, like I say, they're two of the three. The third is probably Jordan Addison in terms of, but that could be scheme and a bit of bias because we talk about the Vikings a lot.
I mean, but just to, I don't want to cash out on Addison because he's been great. But it's a 1-2 punch with those two. Like they're getting each other open, which is a lot of what Puka has with Cooper Kupp as well. So we can't hold it too much against Addison. He's been fantastic.
Well, let's give credit to is it Les Snead, the Rams GM, who drafted Cooper Kupp in the third round. I think he drafted Puka Nacua in the fifth round.
He only ran a 4.840.
Yeah, and how are you doing this? Cooper Kupp was a 2,000 yards per season wide receiver. Nacua looks in the similar vein to that. How are you finding these talents? And respect for doing that. And to be fair, they're an example of not having a lot of draft capital, which they haven't had for a few years because of the Stafford trade and everything else that they've done. And yet, at some point, everyone was expecting the Rams to really bottom out because they lost what's his name, Aaron Donald in the off season, and I think it would have been fair to assume. And Nacua was injured, Cooper Kupp was injured.
Great coaches, but it can only take you so far. I liked them, we know that. I picked them in the stock market game. Like I felt they were going to do well this year, but they got hit by so many injuries. I'd written them off as anything. I hate the fact they're still in the hunt, man, because I don't want to play them in the playoffs. They're so strong.
And look, Stafford is a top 5-6 quarterback in the NFL when he's firing. 23 of 30, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, no sacks taken, no interceptions. That's great. Puka Nacua, 14 targets, 12 receptions, 162 yards and a touchdown. Once you go out of the top echelon of Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, the next names that you start coming to are people like Puka Nacua in that, and then you've got 1A and 1B in Jefferson and Chase, and then you've probably, Nakua's probably in the 2, 3, 4 range in wide receivers in the league when he's firing. And look, It was a bit. I wasn't. A fair play to you for betting on the Rams. I wouldn't have bet on the Rams. The Bills have been somewhat of a juggernaut this season. They obviously beat the Chiefs. Look, it is what it is. But the wheels are not coming off the Bills. Sean McVay, for whatever reason, manages to pull these results out of his arse, for lack of a better term, during the season.
We're going to struggle against teams who can run the ball, because they literally spend all of their time in nickel and dime. So that's with additional defensive backs on the field as opposed to run stuffers.
They had their first round pick this year, and in like 5 years or whatever it was, and I think they selected Jared Verse with their first round pick, which was the pass rusher
from
Florida.
Isn't he up?
And he's been the top graded rookie
hold on.
edge rusher in the
That's the
league.
Rams, right? The Rams took Jared Verse. Yeah, good. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I thought you were giving the Bills far more credit than they deserve for a moment.
No, the Bills traded all the way down and took Keon Coleman.
Who could turn out to be good?
Heated up earlier in the season. He's cooled off a little bit now because obviously
I can't remember.
They brought in Amari Cooper, so it just splits the targets, right? Because like we said at the start of the season, with or without Keon Coleman, the other people they've got are people basically
Curtis
from
Samuel,
they've got them met in McDonald's, So yeah.
I mean,
that's my dogs that are going nuts trying to get to me because they miss me because I haven't been there for the last 44 minutes.
Ah, bless them. We haven't got that long left, mate. Nah.
No, I know.
Is it Baxter or is it Luna?
No, it's Luna. The one that doesn't help you.
Yeah, I mean, like it's literally one of them. I think obviously you were saying that people have started to compare Josh Allen with Patrick Mahomes. Well, Mahomes' next outing is against a team that has a habit of pulling off upsets when not expected to. Am I right, James?
You are.
I'm intrigued by this one, mate.
But let's be honest.
Fancy the Browns.
It's difficult because of the Jameis Winston roller coaster. Because you're watching the game and you start to feel really good about it. So, we played the Steelers and I started to feel decent about it when we just scored. I think we were 7 points behind at one point. And it's on Hard Knocks again. If anyone watches Hard Knocks, Kevin Stefanski's like, put the ball in Five's hand. He's going to win us this game. Put the ball in his hands, and then the next thing you know, he's just not seeing the corner on the underneath, right? And he's been picked. And the amount of times that you're watching it, there aren't many quarterbacks that throw a prettier ball than Jameis Winston in the NFL. To be honest, long ball. Some of his long ball stuff is incredible, and the accuracy is great. But then at the odd occasion he'll overthrow it gets picked. What you see with other quarterbacks is they seem to get a bit lucky, so you can hit the cornerback in the hands, and the cornerback will drop the ball. When Jameis Winston hits a cornerback, it goes straight in the breadbasket and sticks every game, and it's so frustrating to watch. It's made football a lot more interesting for me than the previous quarterback who shan't be named. But at the same time, it's the Jameis Winston roller coaster. You want a little bit. Yeah, you want a bit of consistency in there, and Winston's never going to provide that because of who and what. I'd put him as probably not far off a Jameis Winston kind of player.
And yet you want the Vikings to keep him.
Yeah, but it works for you.
No, we still want a good QB. Stop it.
28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Jameis Winston's on about 11 touchdowns and 9 interceptions.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, if you take that one game, everyone has a bad game. If you take that out, then it's more like 27 touchdowns and 3
interceptions. Play. Like literally, I'll tell you something as well. If we were dumb enough to trade away JJ McCarthy, whoever he goes to, then becomes the next dynasty. Like it would be the worst trade in history where we did that.
Well, you can re-sign Darnold, and we'll trade you Watson for Darnold, and then we'll see how he works in our system, just for the sake of science.
Do you still keep paying Watson, and do you keep paying Darnold?
No.
It's not like we're taking Brock Osweiler.
I feel like I'm Ollie now, just offering you crap trades for the sake of it.
He's missed. Yeah, he's been enjoying himself.
He is missed. Yeah, we're doing an assignment for those that care. I mean, I don't. But
University. He's such a career-driven guy now, isn't he? Look at him, like
yeah, and then when you
working
get
all the
that career like
time.
me and you have got, you just look like you're tired and want to
Well,
shoot
he's got
yourself
a
most of
constant
the time.
headache
So,
behind one eye. Yeah, yeah, it's great. Like concentrated headache.
right. Before we wrap up, shall we quickly talk about the decline of Aaron Rodgers and Justin Tucker?
All right, but let's talk about Justin Tucker. We'll call this the Dan report. Justin Tucker's bad.
This is for you, Dan. Enjoy.
Justin Tucker's bad now, Dan.
Yeah.
It's like Eric Bristow with the yips. There you go. There's a reference for you. No, honestly, it is fixable. If you actually look at him kicking, and I can't believe I've done this, but I did. I went and got a video of him kicking a 63-yarder like about 4 years back, and then videos of him kicking this season. And I was having a look at him, and he probably isn't aware of this, but for some reason he's opened up his foot. It's like he's got a wider angle on it. So like a golf club, of course, he's coming off at a different angle. He needs to deliberately just keep his foot straighter like he used to, I think. I mean, I don't know if I'm right or wrong. All I did was have a look at kicking motions and go, well, if you're a golfer, mate, why have you opened up your club? Nah.
It's fortunate. I mean, the rest of the Ravens are carrying Justin Tucker at the moment, I think it's fair to say. I don't know how many he's missed, but it's taken the heat off Dustin Hopkins at the Browns, who's been absolutely horrible for the last month or so and can't nail a field goal to save his life. And Justin Tucker seems to have the yips. And, you know, as having watched him make 55, 60-yard field goals as time expires consistently for the last 10 years, I've got to be honest and say I am here for Justin Tucker's decline. I am sick of watching that guy win games for a crap franchise. And genuinely, I hope it continues until you have to cut him and get someone new in who's just as horrible as Tucker is at the moment, and Dustin Hopkins. So yeah, I mean, all I want for Christmas is Justin Tucker to be waived. To be honest,
it's never gonna happen, Jim.
No, I know it's
like,
not. It's funny.
All the real Ravens fans are like, no, of course we're not gonna cut him.
I'm trying to get a bite from Dan. Dan might attend the podcast one day. So we would just
take a.
Yeah,
I know, but I'm pretty sure Dan would take a bullet for this guy. I mean, literally a bullet. Like, he'd probably ask if he could have it in a fleshy part of his leg or something, but he'd still take a bullet for him. But Aaron Rodgers, my boy, it's not his fault. I blame the GM. Jim. It's definitely the GM's fault. Aaron Rodgers has done nothing wrong. He keeps getting them leads in games from the defense men can't keep.
I don't know, though. He doesn't look good, does he? He does not look good. I mean, I know earlier he hasn't regressed to a terrible quarterback, but I think the play call in the support system, I mean, everything's wrong with the Jets, right? There's nothing right with the Jets at the moment. Aaron Rodgers, there's his Netflix documentary coming out next week, I think it is, where we basically get to watch him in a dark room in the woods taking mushrooms. So I'm here for that. Oh, mate, yeah, 100%. You know, cue me up for that one. That'll be entertaining, and it might shed some light on just why the Jets are so bad this season.
Or it could make you question even more why they're so bad. Bearing in mind they've got a QB who can actually talk to the snake gods. I mean, come on.
Well, this is it. You know, who's he praying to? Maybe he picked the wrong one in that. We'll find out in a Netflix documentary next week. But yeah, look, Aaron Rodgers seems to have fallen off a cliff. They traded for his mate Davante Adams, cost him a second-round pick. That hasn't gone well either. He's got Garrett Wilson, who's another really good receiver. He's got Tyler Conklin at tight end, who's a middling to middle upper sort of tight end. Offensive line's obviously an issue, but just doesn't look or feel right. And while they're not getting blown out, they're not playing good teams.
No.
So, you know, they're playing middling teams, and like you said, they're giving up leads late, and it's just bad fundamentals and bad coaching. I think if they had if they managed to get and I think actually that they were better off with Salah than they are now. who at least their fundamentals were better. So I think they kind of cut their nose off to spite their face by cleaning house from that and the GM.
So I have heard. I don't know how true this is, but I have heard Rodgers definitely didn't get the Salah fired. Salah got fired because the owner wanted to drop Rodgers
after 4 games.
Salah said no and got fired. Mm-hmm. So if anything, like all of that crap that Rodgers got and Salah got is completely undeserved. The owner has done something I think there's a reason why the Jets haven't been in the playoffs for, is it nearly 30 years now?
It's over 20, I think, 20, yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous, man. And if you keep...
I think the last time was Mark Sanchez, the legend of the butt fumble.
Yeah, the man who got himself in trouble for eating a hot dog on the sideline.
Yeah.
All very funny. But, yeah, I mean, like, for me, it turns out that Brett Favre, he couldn't go to the Jets and turn them around. Aaron Rodgers, he can't go to the Jets and turn them around. If Aaron Rodgers is available next year and he gets picked up by a competent franchise, look out. We might see a little swan song there.
I'm expecting well, all the rumours are saying he'll be finished in New York after this season. I can't see who he would be, who he'd be going to. He's not going to be willing to play, placeholder for a rookie quarterback. So if you're picking a quarterback in the top 5, like the Giants and the Raiders will be, that throws them out of there. So then you start looking at like the Titans or someone like that, because to be honest, I'm better than Will Levis. So Aaron Rodgers would be a definite upgrade.
If the Titans, for example, I think that's a good shout. So let's say that the Titans decide to move on from Will Levis, who, by the way, you built like a brick shit house. WWE is calling you in the future.
You have no career in the NFL.
You're probably not going to make it in the NFL, mate. But like, you will make a hell of a heel in the wrestling. So off you go. Is it AJ Francis, former Miami player? I think he's wrestling for the TNA World Title on Friday or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Flop
Dollar. That's Flop Dollar, isn't it?
Is that who that is? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the one that looks like a manatee in a sweatshirt, according to Jim Cornette.
Horrible human being, but very funny man. Right. But yeah, I mean, like it's literally one of those where they should probably be moving on from Levis. I mean, like, he's got a decent arm, but it's the same stuff, isn't it? When he scored a 98-yard touchdown against the Vikings, so maybe he can come in and be our backup QB on the cheap, a bit like that.
You got Daniel Jones
We've
to
already
do
got
that.
a plan that doesn't involve signing Darnold. Anyway, so sorry, mate, but yeah. So what it comes down to is they get rid of Levis, they then say, what, they'll be in a position to maybe take Cam Ward?
Titans, are they bad enough
I think
for
so,
that?
mate. They lost to the Jags. They're now bottom of their division.
What's their record?
Like 2 wins or 3 wins?
3-10, yeah.
So Patriots are 2 wins at the moment. They might get a win this weekend because they're playing against the Cardinals, who seem to be falling off a cliff now that there's like some form of competitive Call of Duty Warzone going on again. Kyler, stop it. Anyway,
they gave him his own character with all the upgrades. So why would you do that? It just seems like the ultimate troll. That does. That's amazing from the game makers. They're obviously not Cardinals fans.
Brilliant. Anyway, so Kyler seems to have fallen off a bit of a cliff again over the bye. When you're on a bye, what do? You go and play your games. You get into them. You can't quite put them down again. Am I right, Kyler? Put down your controller, mate, and win some games for your team. Anyway. I'm guessing, allegedly, it's a joke, right? Yeah,
allegedly being.
So you've got Will Levis. They let him go. You got Cam Ward. You bring Cam Ward in. Is there any kind of like logic here that says, well, I'm bringing in Cam Ward, but I want to do this properly by my rookie quarterback, right? So I'm going to bring in a bridge quarterback who can mentor this person, and like, wouldn't Aaron Rodgers fit that quite perfectly?
No shot. There is no way Aaron Rodgers is going to mentor another quarterback after what happened with Jordan Love. And that. Yeah, but it was an implosion at the time. He absolutely went nuts and threatened to retire unless they gave him a new contract worth $48 million a year.
He thought they were getting him Justin Jefferson. You can't blame him for having been upset.
Yeah, fair enough. And we ended up with Christian Watson, who can't catch a cold. So there we go. Yeah, I think let's follow these struggles throughout the rest of the season. And long may Justin Tucker's struggles continue. Sincerely, from a Browns fan. So yeah.
Right, yeah, let's call it then, mate. We'll pick this conversation up next week. Hopefully a few of the others will be about. Yeah, thanks everyone for being with us, putting up with me and Jim arguing with us. We
Peace out to everybody apart from Ravens fans and Justin Tucker.
Steelers fans?
Steelers, yeah, they suck too.
Eagles and Packers and Lions and Bears from Scott. Anyway,
Okay,
but yeah, take care all. We'll catch you next week.